Hi everyone, Florian Puhani here with another morsel of my personal training philosophy / psychology. Maybe you've heard that you shouldn't apply intensity techniques on those exercises that are considered the most taxing of them all, especially deadlifts and heavy barbell squats. Otherwise you could deplete your neurotransmitters and kind of burn out your central nervous system. And I think that's a valid neurological concern. But let's have a look at intensity techniques from a merely psychological angle for a change. It is common sense, even proverbial, that you don't fix what isn't broken. So if you know a certain exercise is optimal for you to stimulate growth in the respective target muscle, I recommend you keep it at straight sets. Of course, you want to go close to failure, or maybe to technical failure, or even to muscular failure, but I wouldn't go beyond. Here is why. Think about the long game for a moment. Depending on what kind of favorite exercise we are talking about, it will happen more or less often that you find yourself in a situation where you don't have a chance to do it. I guess you won't have to find a substitute for normal push-ups anytime soon. But what if your training program says ring chest flies, for example, and you are in a hotel room, short of time, and the next calisthenics park is a few kilometers away? And please, let's not talk about hotel gyms, especially here in Germany. So you need an alternative you can perform on the floor. But you deem all the alternatives suboptimal, even the ones I've shown you so far in my previous video, which I've linked in the info card, by the way. So now would be the perfect time to employ some intensity technique in order to close at least the perceived effectiveness gap between your favorite and the less welcome substitute. But who knows, maybe the new alternative I'm going to show you in a moment may even become your new favorite. Still, keep in mind what I said about intensity techniques. I'll come back to that later. After I've had the idea about the abdominal slide out I've shown you in my last video, figuring out the equivalent for the chest was almost a no-brainer actually. The only problem I had to solve was fixing the assistance bands in a way they wouldn't interfere with your grip. Because it turned out you can't connect a pair of rings with two rubber bands keeping them completely separate from each other. At least I couldn't. But maybe it's just my spatial sense that's impaired. Anyway, this is how I loop the resistance bands around the CALIRINGs. The only thing I want to point out here is that you should shift the loops and eventually tie them down when the push-up handles are exactly parallel to each other, because you want to get an equally strong pull from each string when you push the CALIRINGs apart. Otherwise you couldn't maintain a neutral wrist position. And if it should turn out that you prefer to do the exercise with slightly pronated forearms, you know what to do. Readjust the loops around the handles so the strings of the bands farther from your feet are shorter than the ones closer to your feet. Now about the exercise variation itself. The microfiber racks aren't strictly necessary. Just like in the abs video, they just make sure the floorboards don't get scratched. But what you most likely will need are some resistance bands. I'm not sure I could do even one single max rep without any assistance here, whereas my personal best at normal ring chest flies is 7 reps, clean and deep mind you. Still, the sliding motion is at least much smoother and more elegant than the clumsily rolling dumbbells equivalent. It's the broad round base of the CALIRING parallettes that renders them particularly well suited for sliding on the floor. Other kinds of low parallettes may not even allow you to connect them with bands, or their base is too narrow so they would tilt. But still, if you have some, test it for yourself. As you can see, this time I even remembered to let the CALIRINGs touch under my body for the full adduction. Here is my little trick to get out of the bottom position easier. Initially, don't think about pulling the parallels together or pushing yourself up with your chest. Instead, just flare your shoulder blades a little. This is much easier and will help you cover the bottommost few centimeters of the movement. The CALIRING version can also be done with your feet slightly elevated, aligning your body in a decline angle, which my shoulders prefer, by the way. But no matter if decline or flat, here is an important difference to the hanging rings. As you can see, you will have more trouble staying in the center line of your body, especially if you go the whole way up to full adduction. Just watch me on the right side for a moment, constantly deviating and realigning my starting position for each rep. This means a higher activity for all the stabilizing muscles around your core. To make it a little easier, you could place your feet somewhat wider apart than me in this demonstration. But of course, you could as well embrace the added bonus of extra core activity. Okay, that very much looked like the last normal rep. So now for the fun part, the intensity techniques I mentioned at the beginning. You could perform a mechanical drop set by putting your knees on the ground, shortening the lever arm of your body, or bending your elbows somewhat more, shortening the lever arm of your upper extremities. But I rather preferred to add a few slow eccentric only reps here. A simple push-up will bring you back up into the starting position each time. And as soon as you can't even control the speed of the eccentric phase anymore, you can prolong your set even further by making it a superset with a few more push-ups. With the emphasis on few, because those might turn out to be the hardest push-ups you have ever done in your life. Can this exercise also be done on carpet without the cleaning rags? Sure, but in my case you can see I almost ran out of weight plates to weigh down the rug, so this is better suited for wall-to-wall carpeting. I wanted to show you a couple of reps anyway, so you can see the friction is quite manageable. Mind you, this is my third demonstration set and I had taken both of the previous ones beyond normal failure. So, in summary, if you have the facility to hang up rings, no matter if CALIRINGs or generic ones, do it and perform normal sets of chest flies with them. But if you happen to be grounded, so to speak, you might want to resort to the slide-out alternative I've shown you in this video. And if you have any doubts about its effectiveness, just make it more effective by adding slow negatives and push-ups, for example. Now, if you're still here, I don't think I should keep you any longer. If you like the video and want to support my channel, hopefully, you know what to do anyway. Thank you for listening. My name is Florian, and I will continue to make an effort so that you don't get bored with your training.